we should proceed from now. So thank you all for attending this meeting of the third pilot of the project CyberSANE. So we will start very fast through the agenda. Then I will present the consortium and the partners, and I will do a very quick overview of the project, and then we will finish with the status of the project. This will be our agenda. We are starting now with the CyberSANE overview, and then we will have the training session, and after that we will have the pilot execution. So we will start from now until 12 a.m. Regarding the project and the partners that constitute the consortium, the project runs from 2019 and it ends now in August 2022. So it's a 36-month project. There are 17 partners from all the Europe working together to advance this project. There are also 3 end users from the areas of port, transportation, health, and energy. And these are the users that are testing our system precisely in pilots just like the one that we are executing today. So this is a brief overview of the work package leaders. We have 11 areas of work, and there are leaders for each of those areas. So we have practically a different leader for each area. So it's effectively a teamwork to reach the desired results. So regarding the project overview, we have the bird's view, which is a high level of the approach to the project. So in short, the CyberSANE system wishes to implement all the phases of the cyber incident handling lifecycle, from the preparatory activities to handling the incidents, to detect them, to do some forensics and analysis, and also to aid in the recovery and the knowledge harvesting after the incident has taken place. The system also aims to increase the agility of the investigators that are analyzing the cyber incidents. So we rely on existing systems and tools, and we have worked over the ones that already existed to evolve them even more. And now we have security sensors, we have components for web mining, intelligent solutions, event management approaches. So it's a group of components that we have been working on them, and then they constitute the richness of the CyberSANE system. It's also a modular approach. So in the future, we may integrate other modules into our system. CyberSANE also includes some techniques for prevention, detection, and mitigation of cyber threats, including the use of advanced visualization techniques. CyberSANE is constituted by several main components. So we have LiveNet for monitoring on everything that passes on the network. We have Darknet to scan and monitor the dark web. We have also HybridNet for data mining and analysis. And then we have ShareNet to share information about cyber incidents. And that information is anonymized through PrivacyNet, which is another component. And PrivacyNet guarantees that the sharing of information is done without revealing internal details of the institutions where the cyber incidents are detected and took place. So these 5 components work together to make sure that information is obtained, treated, shared, and anonymized. So now Going a little bit in detail on the components, we have LiveNet to monitor and analyze and visualize the organization's network in real time. Then we have Darknet to monitor the dark and the deep web. HybridNet, as I said before, receives information from LiveNet and from Darknet, and then proceeds to analyze and evaluate the threat to the organization. We have ShareNet, which is the component that provides the privacy, that disseminates and shares the information with other relevant parties, with parties that are configured to receive this information. And then PrivacyNet is the component that provides the privacy anonymization and obfuscation, and also the capabilities of data protection, orchestration, consistency. So these are the 5 mod components that comprise CyberSANE. About the structure of the project. At the beginning, we had the work package 2, so it was the requirements and user scenarios for our system. And then we proceeded to the analysis, specification, and implementation of the 5 components that constitute CyberSANE, from work package 3 to work package 7. Now we are in the phase of the pilots. So before the pilots, we have been working on the integration and the development of CyberSANE System by aggregating all the components, and this was done in work package 8. Now we are executing the pilots on work package 9, and one on work package 10, we will evaluate and define the best practices for CyberSANE. We will also get the lessons learned from the pilots, and after that we will compile a final report with the evaluation of the pilots. So we thank everyone here on this meeting to give us feedback at the end by filling a short questionnaire with your insights and opinions on what you have seen on this pilot of the CyberSANE system. This will be very helpful for us to be able to evaluate how our pilot is seen by people from outside our project that will evaluate the richness of our system. So then we also have work package 11, which focus on the dissemination, the exploitation, and the market approach after we finish the project. So this is when we will address the market with the CyberSANE system. Regarding the work plan, this project has been going for over 2 years now. So we are more or less 2.5 years into the project. In year 1, we launched CyberSANE. We defined the objectives, the requirements, the architecture, and we started the plan for the dissemination and communication. On the second year, we focused on developing the components, and at the end, we started working on the full integration of all the components and the preparation of the pilots. Right now, we are in the third year, so we are actively executing the pilots and validating their results. And from them, we will evaluate the capabilities, the correctness, and the coverage of CyberSANE. We will take our lessons from what needs to be evolved, and we will make the system ready to go to market. The pilots focused, as I said before, on 3 business sectors: the transportation sector, energy, and healthcare. Today, we are executing the third pilot precisely in the healthcare sector. So this is the end of my presentation regarding the project. I will go back to the agenda now, and we will start the pilot training session with the architecture and the technical overview. Thanos, are you ready to proceed?
Of course.
Okay, I will start. I will stop sharing. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Let me first share my screen. Just for you to know, I have prepared some slides, 2 slides, but I prefer to go through the platform itself. So I will use my slides as a backup if you should you have any question on the end of this slot. I'm very happy to see you all here. We are honored to have you here and provide us with your feedback, your comments, whatever is needed in order to improve what we have until now, even if we don't have so much time till the end of the project. But in any case, we need your feedback to improve and provide a better result at the end of the project. I have some network issues, so I will close my camera in order to free some space. If you have any trouble in listening to me, please tell me, because I can understand it. I'm Thanos Karantjias. I represent Maggioli in CyberSANE project. We undertake the responsibility of leading and contributing in several most technical tasks. But additionally, we undertake the technical coordination of the project. And we are very happy to do that and assist the project coordinator for ensuring the correct performance of the project. The vision of the CyberSANE system is actually to be an innovative and knowledge-based, collaborative security and response dynamic system. This is very generic, I know. The main intention of the CyberSANE project is, first of all, to implement all the different phases of the cyber incident handling lifecycle. Of course, not on its own, as you will see later on. For this, we utilize the functionality of 11 to 13 different tools that are already integrated with the main CyberSANE platform. And these are tools that all project partners bring on the project. So aside from an innovation project, is a heavy integration project as well, and I will explain later on how we have built what you have seen. At the CyberSANE platform, as Jorge previously mentioned, we identify 5 different core components: the LiveNet component, the DarkNet component, the HybridNet component, the ShareNet component, and the PrivacyNet component. Very briefly, the LiveNet component is the component capable of preventing and detecting threats, providing to security professionals insights and the track record of the activities within their environment, their critical infrastructure. And these are the tools that are currently integrated for providing services and functions to the LiveNet, to the CyberSANE LiveNet component. The DarkNet component it allows us the exploitation and analysis of security risks and threats related information from the deep and dark web. And this is realized via analysis of both the textual and the metadata content available from various electronic streams. And these are tools that are integrated for the DarkNet component. The HybridNet component is expected to provide the intelligence needed to perform effective and efficient analysis of security events. And these also are the 3 tools that are currently integrated for providing services to the hybrid component. We will see later on one by one the functionalities, the exact functionalities of these components. The ShareNet component provides the necessary threat intelligence and information sharing capabilities this time of the critical infrastructure with external the organization parties. And the privacy component is the one that is very well connected with the ShareNet component, because in order to be able to share information regarding security evidences in our critical infrastructure, of course, several privacy policies needs to be properly applied, so not to expose information that we are not willing to share with the security incident itself. So this is the main dashboard of the CyberSANE component. It actually consists of several graphs. All these are interactive. From one view, the security professional is able to identify the number of security events or anomalies, identify in a timeline internal contacts registered within the organization that consist the security team within the organization, the users that are already registered in the platform for this specific organization, and some other things that I will explain right after. Just for you to be aware, upon registering either external or internal contacts or either or users within the platform, the system automatically once a day checks the dark web if their emails and their identities have a known breach. As you can see here, with true and red, you can find emails that are breached, and you can find information for these emails, for these email addresses within the deep and dark web. So it is an informative way of giving more information to the security professionals and experts. Okay, now that we had to deal with all these different components, we needed, first of all, to design a proper usage flow within our dashboard. And in the context of the project, we searched for many different practices, worldwide or best practice, worldwide known or best practices, in order to build these usage flows. And we ended and we finally adopted at the NIST Computer Security Incident Handling Guide. According to this guide, the organization of an effective computer security incident response capability involves several major decisions and actions. So the incident response process has 4 specific phases. All of these phases are the main menu items in our dashboard. It is the preparation phase. This is the initial phase that involves the establishment and training of all involved incident response teams, acquiring the necessary tools and resources. So during the preparation, the organization attempts to limit the number of incidents that will possibly occur by selecting and implementing a set of controls based on the results of risk assessments, mainly in the CyberSANE context. The detection and analysis phase and exists since the residual risk that will persist even after controls are implemented within the organization and the preparation phase I just introduced. So the detection of security breaches is necessary to alert the organization whenever incidents occur. Obviously, this is the core phase in which the CyberSANE easily contributes based on the tools that are already integrated behind the main component. The containment, eradication, and recovery phase, it is the phase in which the activity often cycles back to detection and analysis and see if additional hosts are infected while eradicating the related incidents already identified at the detection and analysis phase. So at this phase, the CyberSANE project, we can only contribute at the containment phase, sub-phase, because we collect the evidences from the detection and analysis phase. We don't have any currently any tool or any function or any service in order to truly eradicate and recover the organization from a security incident. The post-incident activity phase, it is the one that comes after all the handling process, the real handling process of an incident, and the organization issues reports that detail primarily the cause and probably other attributes such as cost, whatever it needs to be registered here, and build the library in order to be used and utilized whenever a similar event will need to be managed or handled within the organization. So at the post-incident activity, let's say we build the lesson learned of all this process, and it stands like a library within the critical infrastructure. So I will start with the preparation phase. As said again, the preparation phase, it is the one that here the organization is able to build any internal the organization contacts that are not users, of course, or external the organization contacts that will later on be included in alerts configurations in order to receive automatically alerts from for incidents or anomalies or attack patterns that probably will be identified. So we build the security teams of the organization. What we have is the asset inventory of the organizations. So for the specific pilot that we are seeing, we can see that till now we have more than 21 already registered assets. The way that our platform registers the assets, it adapts some intelligence in it, because when you are able to create a new asset, you can select a specific vendor, a specific product, and a specific version, and the system automatically integrates with open repositories and automatically identifies existing vulnerabilities from this repositories such as the NIST vulnerability database. And of course, you are able to see, to have a generic view of the critical infrastructure, again with the footprints. You can see that upon register the asset, I have already identified a number of given threads, vulnerabilities, and so on automatically in my platform. All these graphs are interactive in our platform. And as you can see, we're not only able to register the assets, but we are able also to define their relationship or their interrelationship. For example, we can define if an asset is communicated, is connected with another asset, is installed on another asset, and such things. Of course, we are able to identify controls, and with controls, again, we speak about assets or measures or procedures that probably eliminate given identified vulnerabilities and threats. And we are able also to build the threat profile of each one of the assets registered within our asset inventory. For example, for this specific pilot, as you can see, here we have, more than 146 identified threads. All threads are coming from the Capec Mitre repository, and in our system you can find the exact description of each one of these threads. So the security professional has automatically the library, the security library needed in order to be aware of the status of the critical infrastructure, and upon building the threat profiles, you can go at the risk assessment section. You can define one or more specific business services, and with business service, you can say that each one of them may consist of all of the assets registered or not. So you can perform a risk assessment either on the total organization registry of assets, or at a specific business service, which consists of a given number of assets, not all of them. By performing a risk assessment, you can then have many different analysis of the results of this risk assessment process. First of all, you can have the same view with the asset inventory, but now you can identify easily what is the status of each one of your assets in terms of risk, of course. So with yellow, you can see all the medium risk level assets. With red, you can see the high risk level assets. And with black, you can see the very high risk level assets. And upon clicking at each one of these assets, you can further go to further analysis. So you can see the heat map for this asset that I have clicked, the asset footprint, as we call it, and then you can go again in one step further and see what are the exact risks of this asset. And these are, for example, code injection in relation with the CVE, with this vulnerability, for example. So this is the preparation phase. Again, this is something that it comes before the real-time detection and analysis phase. At the real-time detection and analysis phase, we have also another section within our in our dashboard. As you can see here, the security incident is able to see the full list of security incidents identified and be fed automatically in the platform. For each one of these, we can have further analysis in terms of the severity of the assets identified, the number and the timeline of these assets. Now we have, it is 1st of July, and we're not able to see the previous month. So this is, for example, what have been identified in June. Aside with the security incidents, our system, through either the LiveNet and the HyperNet component, identifies also attack patterns and anomalies with the same exact format, let's say. So each security professional is able to have a full view, a compact view in a meta tool such as CyberSANE, in which all the information gathered for many different tools deployed in each one of the assets within the critical infrastructure are gathered here for further analysis. Aside from the real-time monitoring of the assets that provides, of course, events either as security incidents or attack patterns or anomalies, we can we provide the capability to the security professional to search the deep and dark web for specific contexts. For example, if I'm receiving a security incident that informs me that a malware attack runs right now, I can go to the deep and dark web and say, okay, let's see what exists in malware, and from the latest 3 months, let's say. So the system automatically crawls the deep and dark web, many different onions in the deep and dark web, in order to bring me specific articles, either with the keyword that I have inserted, and of course other concepts as well. So I'm able to select one, to read, to have the list of specific onions that this article is published at the bottom of this, and so on. Of course, we further analyze the output of the crawling process in terms of concepts, scores, these concepts in critical scores and texts, criticality, and the URLs that have been published, that these articles have been published, the number of URLs per date that have published these articles, a very huge a heat map with the score of the URLs vs the cyber concepts. We provide many different analysis dashboard here to help the security professional to conclude and take the proper decision for successfully handling the incident that have been identified here. On the other side, we can also crawl the open web. Again, let me search for malware again for the latest 3 months. So as you can see here, the system automatically crawls the open web, and it feeds me with relative articles in order to see if these the incident, the relative incidents that the CyberSANE brings me in this dashboard have any probably relation with these articles, and how probably they have handled other organization these issues. Again, for this, we can also provide some graphs just to so you can see the keywords in many different analysis graphs, such as top concepts, timeline analysis, tag cloud analysis. One thing that I forgot here at the deep and dark web is you can also create new crawler initializations. What we say here, you can define specific concepts that needs to be crawled at specific onions, and you can also define the number of crawlers in terms of the number of URLs and the depth, the relation between these onions, and how many pages the system will try to bring back, and what are the interval in crawling these onions. So you can set the exact time for crawling these sources. So it's a purely configurable process. From this point of view, what you see. Another critical thing that we provide for the critical infrastructure is what you can see here, the organization reputation and the domain reputation, let's say. What we search here is we take the name of the organization that owns this dashboard. In our specific pilot is the Klinikum of Nuremberg, and we search if in the deep and dark web, is there any discussion with this keyword? So default, we bring this result to the security professional, and we say, and we can be sure that okay, none of the onions have any relation, any discussion for our organization. And we also take the domain. The domain is hospital or energy or maritime or whatever. So we can also search about discussion regarding the domains. So if we have attacks on hospitals in Europe, we can probably we will have some results here. I'm going on with the next phase, which is the containment, eradication, and recovery. So what we have seen till now, we have seen the preparation phase, in which the main service there is to create the asset inventory, to see the threat profile of each asset, and perform risk assessments. We saw the detection and analysis phase, in which real time we are monitoring the status of the assets. We further process the evidence is collected. We identify anomalies. We identify attack patterns. We are able to search either the deep and dark web or the open web for relative articles in order to take the proper decision, in order to reach this phase, to eradicate and recovery. As said before, we don't have any tools. We don't have implemented any specific CyberSANE services in order to really eradicate and recover from a security incident. But what we provide here is we allow the security professional or the user of this dashboard to create one or more strategies. What we mean by strategy is that upon collecting all the evidences previously, I can say that, okay, I'm facing a malware attack. These are the steps that need to be followed in order to successfully handle this attack, and I can attach either one or more assets, one or more controls, threats, vulnerabilities, specific anomalies, specific security incidents, specific attack patterns, all the evidences. All the evidence can be attached in a specific strategy. So this, upon saving, this is published to the organization, and everyone in the security, every member of the security team knows what to do in order to successfully recover from the security incident. Apart from this, we have what we call the simulation environment. What is this? In this, we built what the word says, a simulation environment that allows the security professional and expert to build what-if scenarios based on the evidences that we have. For example, if let's say that I want to see if someone starting from the tech notebook, for example, asset, will reach my Docker service VM. The attacker skill is high, and as you can understand, because the possible attack paths within a huge list of assets it will bring me a huge list of corresponding attack paths. We can set an execution, a specific execution time for this process in order to get results. And as you can see here, the system automatically identified 2 successful attack paths and many not successful attack paths. What are these attack paths? So the attacker says that, okay, we'll start from the tech notebook asset. He will be able to exploit this vulnerability, the description of which is this. We can see the security incidents, the anomalies and attack patterns from the detection and analysis phase that are relative to these assets. So the security professional is able to confirm if this is possible truly or not, because assuming that the algorithm implemented here tells me that it is possible that this vulnerability will be exploited. Based on the security events that I have gathered till now, I can confirm or not if I have a problem with this asset or not. And the algorithm says that upon exploiting this asset, the attacker will be able to attack to another asset in the neighborhood, and he will be able to attack the OpenSSH service VM, and through the exploitation of this asset again, he will be able to continue to reach the Ubuntu service VM, exploit this vulnerability, and finally reach the target asset, which is probably the most valuable in my asset inventory, which is, for example, in this scenario, the Docker service VM. So we are bringing tools to the security professional in order to truly take the proper decision. And at the post-incident activity, as said before, we are able to create the lesson learned gained from all this process. So you can either say that for brute force attack, for example, this is a lesson learned, and these are the relative assets, controls, threats, security, anomalies. Again, you can collect as many evidence as you like through this dashboard. And what is the critical point here? Aside from building this internal organization library, you are able to share this information with external organization parties. Either there are collaborators of you, they are providing security services in the infrastructure, or there are MISP instances across Europe, and this way you are able to send notification to other similar organizations for the attack, for the incidents that you are facing. In order to share this data, as you can understand, if you have, for example, attached as evidence a given asset, the asset in its description brings its internal IP. It is something that you don't want, and you're not willing to share it with external organization parties. So you can go at the data sharing agreements, you can build a specific one or more data sharing agreements. What we are doing in these data sharing agreements, we identify if this that will be shared is an asset, is a security incident, is attack pattern, is an anomaly, and within these core entities you can specifically enforce privacy rules on specific attributes. For example, in the asset entity, I want to anonymize the IP, I want to anonymize the description, I want to anonymize the relationship with other assets internally. So automatically, the sharing process, as you can see here, if I click the sharing process, the system asks me what data sharing agreement needs to be enforced in this sharing process. So I can choose one of them, save it, and as you can see here, the system keeps a reference of this sharing process in order for you to be aware if you have shared this lesson learned and where and with what data sharing agreement. Horizontally, of course, we provide the organizational management of this dashboard. The user is able to see his profile, change password, to see the organization, the very exact details of the organization. He can create, activate or inactivate one or more internal users. It is a multi-tenant architecture, the one that I'm using right now. So because I have the rights with the account that I'm logged in, I can switch to other organizations. So here are all the organizations of the CyberSANE. So all these also horizontally are implemented in this CyberSANE prototype, let's say. I guess I have finished with the walkthrough. Should you have any question, whatever you need to discuss, I'm available.
Thanos, please, there is someone in the audience, Gonçalo Santos, which probably has a question for you.
Of
He
course.
raised his hand.
Yes. Hi, I'm Gonçalo from EDP Portugal. I've listened to the presentation and I have a few questions. Maybe you can help understand a little bit better. You in some occasions you show the description of the vulnerabilities and the attacks. That is helpful, of course. But is there a way that you can also show mitigation strategies, just to guide the teams to know, at least have a path to what they must do to mitigate those threats that you are describing?
Yeah, this is something, thank you for your question. This is something that we are working as a second version. I don't think that we will be able to have it till the end of the project of the CyberSANE. This is a manual process actually that needs to be followed in order to identify mitigation strategies. For example, as I said here, what we have do, at least at the preparation phase, it's upon registering an asset, for example, if I'm using Microsoft, for example, and I have an SQL server, as you can see, is fully automated the way you define an asset. So I have the pure list of the versions of this product and the exact service pack. So I'm choosing this version of the product. Upon saving, the system automatically brings me existing vulnerabilities. Of course, at the detection and analysis phase, and upon monitoring the log files, for example, of my SQL server, new vulnerabilities will come in place. But these vulnerabilities cannot be transformed to known CVSS vulnerabilities like these vulnerabilities that I have from open repositories. For example, I don't have this identifier for live vulnerabilities.
Okay. But for example, for the ping of death and the other threats that you showed, maybe that's or for the CSS or for SQL injection, maybe for those that are more pattern-like, you can have a more generic approach, or no?
What we build right now, and is very interesting, is that upon identifying a given vulnerability, for example, this one, we search for from the CVE description. We search for the corresponding common weakness enumerations. And from the common weakness enumerations, we automatically correlate threads from the CAPEC Mitre repository. So with this process, we automatically build all the risks, the attack scenarios, as we said them here. Sorry, this is not attack. The attack scenarios, which is, what is the attack scenario? The actual risk, the correlation of the threat, the vulnerability, and the given asset. So upon registering the asset, automatically we build the threat profile of the asset. But again, not based on real-time data coming from the detection and analysis. At the detection and analysis, what we do is that we collect the evidences as events. We pass them through the hibernate component in order for this thread to be fed in machine learning algorithms and identify either attack patterns or anomalies. And that's all. So we bring a security professional with these capabilities in order for him to take the proper decision in order to follow mitigation actions.
Okay.
We can provide it automatically, this. Or probably this needs to further integrate with probably existing open source tools or not open source, closed tools that can bring this functionality for CyberSANE.
If I may, Thanos.
Of course.
Okay, so regarding the playbook for response, you can do it right now. There is the infrastructure to do that, but you have to do it manually for each of the threats that, or each of the playbooks that you already have defined in organization. So let's say that you already have an incident response plan for a set of attacks or vulnerabilities. You can configure that on the platform and on the automation process automatically notify the security engineers what's the playbook to do with that vulnerability. Okay, that you could do that. What I think you were also asking, and we don't yet have, but we aim to have on the next version of the project, is to, by default, have a large set of playbooks for the well-known vulnerabilities and for the, let's say, even for the 0 days. 0 days is obviously a lot harder because it's, but you already have the integration with MISP and the STIX and the parsing all of the fields from the different formats to do that. We already have that in the sharing. And now it's more about getting the right feeds in. Let's say you go for the Circle MISP and you import everything that they produce every day, and that's a way to do it. But yeah, there is no excellent open source feed that we can leverage to create the playbooks automatically. It's a lot of work. It's not, let's say, rocket science to do, but it's a lot of work. Right? So
yeah, because lots of the ways is just update to the latest version of the product, but you never know. Well, just from the CV, you don't know that.
And something now that I have the chance just to add something. As I said before, currently we integrate a big list for a project, for a European project, a big list of existing tools. The way we have integrated and provide the integration strategy within CyberSANE is that for this integration, we have defined, based on the Elastic Common Schema, we have defined the CyberSANE common schema for security incidents, attack patterns, and anomalies. So all these are listening and are very well connected with a message queuing system. Whatever other tool needs to provide evidences in our platform, it's just a matter of adapting our schema. We just need to provide a very simple adapter between the tool that needs to be integrated with the CyberSANE platform. So it's very easy to expand and support whatever other tools needs to be integrated in this ecosystem, let's say.
Okay, I have just one more question and I'll stop talking. When I've been using a tool called Bloodhound that is used to assess Active Directories vulnerabilities and find like shortest path to domain admin. And from that, when you show us when you shown us the vectors, when you show when you choose a starting point and you end point, and it shows the tool shows you the path. I think from the users of Bloodhound, that when the user starts using the tool, don't have a lot of knowledge, it's useful to have like some specific paths to already available to start showing you the some critical paths. For example, on Bloodhound, it has like show me the shortest path to domain admin, and that's also always useful. And here, maybe from the experience that you have, there are some paths that are always good to know, or if I come to the tool over and over again, it would be nice to have like a way to save a path and come back later. Every month I'll see if that path is different, or if there are no new vulnerabilities for that path, for the specific assets that I want to make really sure that don't is exploited. Is there a way?
This is an excellent comment. Yes, it is something that we're working on. Yes, you are very right. The first approach, the one that we present here, is what it takes into account in order to build these attack paths. It gets the assets, it gets the relationships of assets, of course, in order to identify all possible attack paths as paths, and then it relies on vulnerabilities, and specifically it relies on the attributes of the basic profile of the vulnerability. So based on this basic profile, for example, the access complexity, the authentication required, what else it's there, access complexity, access vector, and authentication, for example. These are three vulnerability attributes that I remember. And we have set a number of rules, of course, bringing at the scene the attacker profile, for example, in order to build our algorithm, in order to see if the attacker can jump from one asset to another. At the second version of this algorithm, of course, one thing that you have mentioned is to bring the probability of occurrence of the attack path. It's not the same, because for this, in order to build the probability of occurrence of a given attack path, we rely and we work on the exploitability of its vulnerability, because each vulnerability comes with a given exploitability score. You can take the exploitability score taken from NIST as it is provided at the profile of the vulnerability, or you can rely on a new calculation system for the exploitability. The EPSS, it's just published from first.org right now, and we are waiting to see how we can adapt this calculation because it is very good. And the other thing that you are very right, we need first of all to identify the most and categorize these attack paths in terms of the closest path. Because if you need to jump over 20 assets or 3 assets, of course, the probability of occurrence is very different. You're very right on this. We're working on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Oscar has his hand raised. Maybe we can switch over or not anymore. Yeah, he has. Okay, go ahead, Oscar.
I've just seen the comment from Oscar. Yes, we are watching very closely the EPSS model. The problem that we haven't adopted here is that it only have a very limited list of vendors, and as you can see, there are only 8 to 9 vendors, known vendors, and then you have the other. Okay, we are waiting something better and more mature from EPSS in order to adopt it. Again, the second version, it relies on the exploitability score as it comes from the formula taken from NIST right now.
Okay, thank you. And I wrote also that my third question, it's about monetization of the platform. Maybe someone will not go for the whole tool, but maybe is interested in a kind of a monthly subscription for the intelligence. So I don't know if you have thought about this model of business.
I think that's more for me, Thanos.
Yeah, it's for you, Luis.
Okay, yeah, so all of the tools come from different partners. They already have their own exploitation plans. Let's say if you just want one of the tools from LiveNet, let's say you want S2 tool, you could go to S2 and S2 would provide you both a quote for the tool and for the professional services to do the integration. But yeah, there are a set of packets. Let's say like we bundle together a set of tools and you can buy those tools in multiple tiers. There are currently 3 tiers throughout the basic level where you get all of the basic live detection and a set of other tools that complement that. But then we have the advanced and the enterprise packet, which has more tools and more things that they consider. So we have a dedicated exploitation plan for that. But as I was saying, you don't need to go that route, but it's being taken care of, and we are actively working on that. But since the project is not really in the state where we can say we are ready to make a deployment with total automation, it still requires professional services. We have not publicized that part of the project yet, but we aim to do so.
Okay, thank you. Well, congratulations, and keep going because it's a very interesting tool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Christos Douligeris, may I ask a question?
Of course.
Thano, you said about adaptations that may be needed. Have you tried or somebody asked you for some adaptations so you get an idea on how big this can be and how long they will take or what type of expertise they will need? I mean, if they need you to programmers to start from scratch, that might be a big thing. If it's easy to be done by other people, have some specific examples to show to tell us?
Very good question. Again, as said before, I didn't have the chance to let me change for a little. Let us go to the okay. I hope you are able to see my screen again.
Yes, yes. We do.
So this is I'm not presenting in a presentation mode. So this is the system architecture. We tried to build the whole solution based on best practices, open standards, in order to be easily expand, to be easily moved from this step to another more mature step. As you can see here, and these probably answer your questions, Dr. Douligeris, is that we rely on very concrete and modular system building blocks. We have, of course, the CyberSANE services that they are very custom, because they are very well connected with the dashboard and what the dashboard brings. But aside that, all the integration strategy is based on a separate layer with the message queuing system, the data storage either on relational database or non-relational database, and the adapter for each one of the main components, the LiveNet adapter, the HybridNet adapter, and so on. And all these different tools that now provides our CyberSANE ecosystem, but in the near future, maybe this list may be much more bigger. It is easy to come through the adapter, and the rest of the platform will remain as it is. So, should we need to enhance new functionalities, it is very clear what we need to do. And this does not require for example, our developers to be involved. This is very clear how to do it.
Okay, that's very positive. That's very good. And now some informative question between the connection between these systems, in which one you have the strongest links and which one is more separate than the others?
Yeah, all the LiveNet components and the HybridNet components are very well connected with the core platform because they, let's say, these are the tools that provide much data, much information in the system. Many, as you can see, thousands of security incidents, thousands of anomalies, and so on. What is, let's say, not very well adapted in our dashboard, in our platform, is the tools that comes from ShareNet, because we didn't have the chance for this tool to provide concrete APIs and then rebuild all the complex functionality, however, in our dashboard. And actually, it was let's say, an integration strategy of the CyberSANE project again, because we didn't want to replicate the dashboards that come from other tools. For example, a CM, which stands in the LiveNet component, provides many different analysis, web pages, graphs, and so on. We don't want to replicate all these screens in the CyberSANE. CyberSANE stands as a meta tool. This is a phrase that one of our board members, advisory board members, mentioned that, and he's very right. It is a meta tool. It provides the security professional to have an overview, to take the proper decisions based on evidences, to provide some further analysis. And that's all.
And one very philosophical question. We are European projects and we always talk about the NIST and so on. Has this discussion come into your project and in other projects as a source about what is going on in Europe with all this? Should Europe take a lead in some of this, or we are going always to go to NIST for this, for everything?
Again, you are very right.
Fair. You also have ENISA and you have other entities in Europe that also put their step forward on this. But you know that there is a different dynamic in terms of companies in the US. So it's normal that they have, let's say, a head start and a stronger industry. And that's why we refer very much to NIST. And also, they came up with the NIST cybersecurity framework a while back, and it's the cornerstone of cybersecurity in the last years. So they're like the elephant with 100 pounds in the room, right? So it's impossible to avoid them. Let's say it like that. But Thanos, I'm sorry to do this. We're already very late.
Yes, I know.
And
sorry.
Sorry for asking so many questions.
Yeah. Please, Andrius, pick up the screen and go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, board. So I'm sharing my screen. So I would like to think the first hour was more concentrated on a general, not a specific environment. So let's focus on the today's topic, Health Pilot, and under the title of just a minute, under the title of Cyber Threat Identification and Communication in Healthcare. I'm Andrius Patapovas, and I'm representing Klinikum Nurnberg. It's a hospital in Nuremberg, one of the biggest hospital in Germany, with 2,300 beds, and with tremendous responsibility in the region to proceed with services, healthcare services, and not to be attacked. Let's look at the environment. I just give you just very brief specifics of healthcare. So hospital is a critical environment, and that's why one of the partner in the CyberSANE project is Klinikum Nurnberg. And a critical environment, that means it's about patients. So it's about healing them and trying to proceed with the best possible treatment. And naturally, there are very interdisciplinary teams with many different experts, and with a long way for a patient staying several days. And if we take just an example of a heart attack patient and see what is a critical treatment pathway. So if a patient with a suspected acute myocardial infarction is admitted to emergency department, it was incubated, ventilated, and ongoing resuscitation follows to a transfer to an intensive care unit. So I think he or she spends like several hours, up to 12 hours in an emergency department, and afterwards it was transferred to intensive care. And so it was very important to do defibrillation, because multiple alerting alternating cardiac arrhythmias were occurred in this time, and for this was used echocardiography. So it's about an ultrasound device which was in place, and a temporary pacemaker was installed. And afterwards, it was proceeded with a patient with emergency coronary angiography. So we have an angiography device with imaging, for which case the patient was receive a drug elucidating stent to place in the right position in a cardiovascular system and afterwards he was readmitted or transferred to a ward. It was about to adapt procedures for weaning, so for breathing and de-escalation of ventilation, so to keep him healing and to keep on with the treatment. So this is a typical, I think, critical treatment pathway if we have a heart attack patients. And you see on the picture which was made last Friday. Just to have a directly understanding how complex is the intensive care unit and the whole system which are connected. So that means if we had an environment or like a setting in this pilot, concretely health pilot setting, that focus on the detection and communication of cyber threats within hospitals, we have to come up with very quick identification. So as I said, in a medical path where there were many medical devices involved, partly ultrasonic device, so ultrasound devices, magnetic resonance imaging, or tomography devices, and they all produce medical data, which is linked then to patient data, which is very, very have to be very secure, stored, and processed. And naturally, to have a whole environment in a hospital, you can't be dealing only with your own experts, IT experts, to maintain all the assets. So you have to have a service technician, which are coming from typically from external, especially now in the pandemic time. In the last 2 years, they all were not allowed to enter the hospital, so we were getting through a typical VP virtual private network to medical devices on site at hospital to do a maintaining. And we know that there is not only the newest medical devices which have concerns about all the cyber threats, but there are plenty old medical devices which is still in use, like never change a running system in this case, and that means it may contain weak points for hospital security. So if we focus now on the communication in this case, so identification, I think it's clear, but if we focus on communication, so in Germany we have a institute, German Federal Office for Security and Information Technology called Bundesamt für Sicherheit in der Informationstechnik, BSI, which is here represented in the diagram. It is responsible for getting such information about identified cyber threats and when he spreads to our hospital. But if we take a region of Nuremberg, for example, there are several hospitals which are connected between each other, as it's shown on diagram. So they are cooperating and they have a bidirectional data exchange for more convenient healthcare services for the patients. And so it's very important to in the right time to cut these services if some cyber threats identified in a hospital and there is like a exploding of the attack, so the hospital in total could be isolated. And the challenges in this setting, so for communication healthcare, is not only that some hospitals are between interconnected, but the message flow to a Federal Office of Security and Information Technology is rather slowly, and this information then proceed and delivered to other hospitals which are in the region or partnering hospital or otherwise. So I think the most important thing would be how to interconnect all hospitals and how to exchange all the lessons learned and try to react very fast to cyber threats. So in a hospital setting for a whole health pilot, we have typical systems of hospital environment. As I said, in case of service technician, which are connecting through internet, he has to go through a firewall and naturally has an access to a ultrasound imaging device, for example, or bed monitoring device, or even a information system like computerized physician order entry, where physician is planning therapy. And on the technical basis, so on a component basis, we have many systems which are dealing in a case of hospital information system, like a PACS system for picture archiving in a DICOM standard, radiology information system, or patient data management system for accumulating and representing vital parameters from intensive care unit. And naturally, each hospital has their own medical record where all the patients are stored and eventually send this data to some public services or to other hospitals. And this is a whole setting, and it showed like how the CyberSANE platform is adapted to that. On this build, on this picture, you can see connected partners, hospitals, and the resident doctors. It is typical that resident doctors are connected to a hospital for a better patient journey. We have 3 scenarios. We are starting with a scenario A. It's about external attack due to an infected notebook. So an external service technician wants to maintain a medical device. Due to an infected notebook, he transfers malware into the local network of healthcare provider. In this case, we have actors like an external service technician and a local CERT team who is responsible for identification and communication of threats. And we have assets involved: technician notebook, technician operating system, central storage system, naturally, which can be influenced, and C2C servers. And the critical information in this scenario would be patient data temporarily stored on a medical device. We can't exclude this situation, and the configuration information of a medical device itself, because it is naturally, if we have one ultrasound device, it is configured in a standard manner, so the configuration data then can be adapted to another ultrasound devices, mobile ultrasound devices. And scenario 1 includes following flow. Service technician connects to his netbook to a medical device for maintenance. It happens from extern. Technician's notebook is infected by a malware. Malware infects the medical device. The malware attempts to contact to C2C service. LiveNet detects malware contacting known C2C service. LiveNet creates a security incident on the hybrid net, and CyberSANE platform notifies CERT. Next step, I will give the floor to Matej.
Sorry, I think the demonstration will be first, and then it will be presented how the technician can search the information on the dark web and in the open web.
Okay, understood. So, Theo Harris.
Yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. I will quickly give a small presentation just so you know what happens a bit better. So let me just share my screen. You can see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so my name is Theocharis Saulidis. I'm from Sidroco, which is we are technical partners in the CyberSANE project. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the security in the health sector, and then we're gonna talk specifically for attack scenario number 1. So imagine that the attack that happened has a ransomware inside. So what happened is it logs and blocks the data, and the hospital can access those data, and then it asks for money and in order to unlock them and have the hospital running again. So when this happens on any malware, the hospital operation flow is not normal and it can operate. So we have, when we talk about critical infrastructures, meaning the hospital, we have like medical and billing information. We have connected medical devices, which are susceptible to tampering, of course. And then with the CyberSANE platform, we can secure this infrastructure. We can secure the patient's information, the medical devices. We offer, as Thanos mentioned, cyber risk awareness with the platform. And we can see the outdated technologies that may be inside the infrastructure. So for the deployment and integration, for the attack scenario number 1, on the left-hand side, as you can see, yeah, sorry.
The slide
Yes.
is stuck on 1. I don't know if you
Oh,
changed.
Yeah, we don't see the
okay.
slides.
Okay. Now it's changing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying about the ransomware. Here you can see some numbers. As you can see on the, we have like 50% of the data breaches is ransomware, so it locks the patient's data. So moving on, as I was saying, the CyberSANE can help the patients secure the patient's information and the medical devices, but also provide the security team with risk awareness in the infrastructure. So for the deployment and integration, for the attack scenario number 1, as you can see on the left-hand side, we have the technician's notebook, which sends, which performs the attack on the medical device that it's supposed to maintain. And then this medical device communicates with the other infrastructure inside the hospital and spreads the malware. So now we can see the demo in real time. So let me just open here. Okay, so this window is the server that is hosting the images of the medical images of the patients. Now I'm going to perform the attack with another machine that is the attacker machine. I'm gonna also need to run some other commands in order to do that. This is just for demonstration purposes. So if this was a real scenario, this would all be inside a script. So nothing will be run manually. Just to show you how the attack is happens, I'm just gonna do this, and then the attack should be able to occur. So as we can see here, the attacker has gained access to the server, and we have now we can either delete or maybe take some patient's data or do any unwanted actions to the server. So if we go to the CyberSANE platform, let me just get this here. So if we go to the CyberSANE platform in the security incidents, we can see that this is the log4j vulnerability. It gives us a description. It says it's high severity, and it should be high severity because the server is compromised, which is the most one of the most important assets in the health pilot. So if we go also here, we can see information about information that will be used by the security professionals, like what type of an attack was it, some other useful information like where it happened, who did it, how if we know the IP of the attacker, so maybe we can block him. But also, CyberSANE has some mitigation actions that can happen with the tools that detect the incidents. Also, can block from happening again. And all this information will be later used by the security team to secure the infrastructure. So I think this is pretty much all the information about attack scenario number 1. I don't know if you have any questions, maybe, and then we can proceed with.
Let's jump to Mate because we don't have much time. We get
okay.
whatever time we left at the end for the questions.
Okay, thank you. So I will just share my screen. So the tools from Work Package 4, which are intended to gather data on the open web and on the dark web, are basically used to give the operator or the security professional the broader view of global malware activities. So to see what is going on in broader environment. And for instance, in the first pilot we have been searching for instance, for Turla malware. So we presented how the administrator was able to find out that this malware is actually linked to espionage operations, and this can give the person who is investigating the incident some broader view of the what is going on and who might be attacker and so on. And here I'm just presenting a couple of slides. For instance, when I try to search the concepts computer security and DCOM, DCOM is medical imaging standard. I can find on the open web several articles, and actually our system then identifies 6 events, and you can see that these events are the media were reporting about how medical imaging files were left accessible online. So this is probably one of the most important dangers that happened in the past with this data. And of course we can see the concept graph and the timeline, so we can see when these events happened. And for instance, if you try to search for concepts like hospital and cyber attack in last month, you can see 700 almost 800 articles. For instance, this one, US healthcare is under attack, is very fresh. It's from today at the morning. And then you can see also the timeline in the last month, how it was reported, and what were the concepts related to this. So sorry, I will just stop the screen sharing. So the idea is here that the security professional goes to these tools and search for media reports and reports from the dark web to find out what is going on in the broader environment. For instance, if there is a campaign in the world when attackers attack with ransomware hospitals, and if your hospital, for instance, in Europe, you can expect that probably in the next few weeks or maybe days you will be hit too. So that's from my side.
Thank you, Mate. So I follow with my presentation. So we have a event scenario 2. The malware is inside a local network and it spreads. So the infected medical device, let's say it was a ultrasound device, a mobile ultrasound device, which was used by echocardiography, spreads into the local network. Participating are local CERT team, assets which are involved, DICOM pictures, as Mate has just told. They could be even modified, what would be a tremendous effect for the diagnostic of diagnostic and for therapy planning. If it won't be located, that it's malware which has changed some data, then we have a central storage system with a whole patient information, access switches, core switches, and other services. In this regard, we have a critical information which could be then misused is like patient data, including images on PACS, so on a DICOM server, configuration information of all connected medical devices to PACS. So as at that moment, as the malware is already at PACS, it has a connection to all imaging devices in the whole hospital. It's a big thing, because we're talking about at least 15 ultrasound devices, at least 3 MRTs, 3 computer tomographs, and X-rays machine, at least 4 or 5, and so on. And then we're coming to a small devices, so mobile devices. So it's a big amount of different medical devices in a whole hospital. So how it's functioning, the basic flow: malware from technician's notebook spreads into a LAN, then via connected medical devices. Naturally, it had to pass virtual networks. Malware performs DOS attack to other servers on a network. HybridNet detects abnormal network traffic from the device on the network components. LiveNet creates a security incident on a CyberSANE platform. We have saw it already, and CyberSANE platform notifies local CERT team. So now I pass the floor to Tereo Harris.
Yes, of course. So allow me to reshare my screen again. Okay, so now we will see the second figure here for the attack scenario number 2. So here on the left-hand side, we have the infected notebook, and then it performs the attack on the server that makes the server unavailable for the hospital staff, the doctors, and everyone. So by doing that, it also makes difficult to detect the first attack he did, the malware we saw on the attack scenario number 1. So it kind of makes sense to cover his tracks by attacking the server with flooding with information, useless information that cannot be traced back to the notebook. So now let's see live the attack. So what happened is the technician will have access to the network, and then the technician will perform an attack as I'm doing here. So what happens here is it connects to the server, and then it sends a lot of messages in order to make the server unavailable for everyone. So here we're waiting for the connection of the server. So as you can see here, the attack is already happening. Messages are being sent to the server. This is a message I have, so we know that the attack is happening. So if I let's not flood the server anymore. So if I go to the CyberSANE platform, we can see here. So let me just refresh. So we can see here the attacks that happened, and we have also the description. We have the high severity because it is high severity due to having the availability of the server. Here the timestamp is on UTC, so that's why it's not the current time. But if I go here and show you the current time in UTC, it's 9:44. So as you can see, the attack happened on 4321, which is what the tool detected. So if again I go to the information here, we can see the destination IP, the ports, all this information that is relevant to the security team that will handle this event. We have the event type, which is an anomaly, which is different than the security incidents that we saw in the previous attack scenario. And we also have information about IPs. We have what kind of attack was it. So we know it was a denial of service attack. And when this incident here appears in the CyberSANE platform, also it will notify the security team via the alerts and notifications here. So that is the second attack and the second scenario. So I don't know if you have any questions about this.
Oh, if not, we can move then. I will jump to CyberSANE Platform 2 and show you from a perspective of a healthcare provider. So Tedeo Hardis had just spoken about alerts and notifications which are happening, or in this case security incidents and so on. And now we have to somehow go to recovery. We had a malware attack strategy. We have a malware attack, and then in the second scenario, a DOS attack. So I can create here, like from the healthcare provider, connecting to other healthcare provider strategy, which we then will be shared with other healthcare providers, so with other partners in the cooperation. So in time purpose, I have already created these two strategies. So malware attack strategy, what has to be done? Isolate from the network the device, retrieve the assets, collect forensic evidences, re-image assets, and redeploy. I noticed the assets which are already known. It was a tech notebook and an ultrasound device, and I created an I adapted it with I connected it with incidents which already happened, and I picked up an anomaly rule to this. So we have this strategy, and we have a second strategy which I create here for the reason to inform all the partners. So that was a strategy we followed here in a hospital, isolate the assets from the network. We differentiate about external or internal DOS attack if it's external. So it's about from the outer perimeter firewalls and routers, block source, attacks IPs. If it's internal, using 802.x network access, control, isolate the attacking devices. If the attacking devices is a critical asset, dispatched by IT technician to investigate, do forensic analysis, and save a copy of the disk and memory content, and reimage the device with a clean image and redeploy assets. So typically, partly of this task will be done by the local team, local IT security team, but partly should be then on call be done by the external partners who are maintaining the, for example, ultrasound device. So they have to be involved, and typically they are storing the clean image somewhere on a secure space within the organization. Sometimes they are bringing the newest clean copy in person. once again, I defined the assets which were used in a DOS attack just to communicate to our partners. In this regards, attacker was the sole virtual machine. The proxy was in between, and it was oriented the attack to a virtual machine of R10. I think, yeah, and security incidents I attached to incidents which I found in the information. So it's not the latest one, which was showed by Terosakis, but Tereharis, I'm sorry, and now I can adapt this information too. So this is something that I'm doing here for strategy, and naturally I have some lessons learned. And for the lessons learned for my organization, after I've done and informed all the tasks for response are done, then I informed with a strategy all the partners. I can come back and say, okay, for my organization, lessons learned, it's about a brute force attack, and these are typical steps I have to lean on and naturally combine combine this information with data security. With security incidences, with anomalies, and so on. So now we are going to the last scenario. Is the scenario 3. Now it's about communication with our hospital about FREED, and actors are Klinikum Nurnberg and CERT team, SOC and CERT team of our German hospitals, in this case, infected servers, infected devices, and critical information. Then is everything infected in the hospital, and that means it's the worst situation that could happen. Afterwards, I think it would be then just locked all the data or encrypted all the data. So the patient data flowing between hospitals due to common healthcare services are critical information, electronic medical records, employee data, financial and accounting data. If we talk about medical records, electronic medical records, it could have a history about 20 years of patients which were admitted to this hospital. Yes. So, and the basic flow of that, local CERT team is informed on a cyber threat or a cyber attack that occurred on a server. Local CERT team wants to inform our German hospital to share information on attack patterns, special anomalies outside the Klinikum Nurnberg. PrivacyNet is used to anonymize identifying information, and ShareNet shares new attack patterns, special anomalies outside Klinikum Nurnberg. So it's about a community exchange. For that demonstration, I would like to give the floor to Oleksiy.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I will try my best to make this presentation as fast as I can, also describing the most important things. So I hope you can see the screen now, or it should come a couple of seconds.
Yes.
So if we access the CyberSANE platform and on the post-incident activity section, we can see the list of lessons learned, and we can actually go and create a new one with having a description and the name of that. So let's name it as the CyberSANE lesson learned from Klinikum Nurnberg, and then we have a small description saying that the lesson learned from KN regarding cyber attack, and then we can choose the previously mentioned assets, and for this case we will choose the ultrasound rod 1. So going next, we have the vulnerabilities, anomalies, and security incidents. So for anomaly, we will choose the one presented this morning that happened at 9:43. Then for the security incidents, we will choose the one that was reported this morning as well. So we can provide as many anomalies as we can, as well as security incidents. So now we can complete this lesson learned, and it is now available on the CyberSANE core platform. However, to inform that, as was mentioned before, we need to specify the data sharing agreements, and for this reason, we can go to the data sharing agreement section. Here, the DSA editor that we have provides a list of available data sharing agreements. They have different versions of that, and depending on the version, we can either access data or this data can be accessed. So if we will go to the data sharing agreement that belongs that relates to anomalies, and we can edit it. Here you can see that we have two parties. Basically, this section provides the list of parties that can use this data sharing agreement and not using the data itself. So we can add the partner, and for this case, let's add the Valencia Support Foundation. So here, the users from Valencia Support Foundation, when they will create the lesson learned, they can use the same data sharing agreement as was used by Klinikum Nurnberg. In this data sharing agreement, we have also the policies that basically provides the set of authorization and obligation rules. For this specific case, we have the authorization rule that states that users from organization, as you can see, CNR or organization Klinikum Nurnberg, can create data. In this case, that it means that these users can upload data to ShareNet component, and this similar rule is regarding the export operation. So we can basically remove this authorization rule, and I will show you how to create it. So we are saying the same stuff, saying that if a subject has organization, or then we will use the reference that subject has organization and another organization, we will specify the value. Then that subject can export a data. So here we can add the CNR as the organization that allows that users can export the data, and it is important to keep the name as specified here for other organizations like Klinikum Nurnberg. Apart from that, we also have the obligations, and basically the obligation can be focused on the system, so that once a certain event occurs, like subject requests data to be exported, then the ShareNet will will use the privacy net component and communicate with the privacy net component in order to anonymize the specific field of the data and the type of that. So here we can choose the parameter like the destination IP is the IP of the asset, and we can also specify the name of the the name of assets should be anonymized as well. So let's choose this DSA name as the just the asset. And here, once we are done, we can complete the DSA. Now this DSA will be available on the list with the status completed. And in order to use this DSA, we need to map it. So now this DSA is available for users to upload the lesson learned to the ShareNet, and then I will show you what we can do next. So here we will specify the latest one. We have two data sharing agreements with the same name, but still we can specify this one since it was updated recently. So once we specify this, we are receiving the key value pair. We have the data sharing agreement name and the ID, which stands for the data protected object ID. Using this ID, we can we can use also the ShareNet interface in order to perform search operation. And I'm logging into this platform with my credentials. My user account belongs to the CNR, so I can download and export this data to MISP platform. So before invoking the export operation, let me log in just to the platform, the MISP platform of our project, so that you can see we don't have any events published here yet. And once we are performing the request to export the operation to share it with external users, we the platform, the CyberSANE platform and the ShareNet component will export this lesson learned to the MISP platform, also calling the privacy net in order to perform anonymization functions. So in the end, we can see the same CyberSANE lesson learned published on this MISP platform, also with the additional object that basically provides the link to the original lesson learned stored on the ShareNet platform. So as we mentioned, that the name should be anonymized. The privacy net basically will invoke the anonymization function for the name of the asset, and we can also specify other authorization rules that will basically perform several calls to the privacy net, also anonymizing the IP of the asset. So in the end, if there is a need to access the original data, users still can use the available link, but the ShareNet will verify whether those users are allowed to access it or not. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm available for that.
Yes, I think we can now move to a Q&A session. And just before we are moving, because I think we are running out of time and some of you will left this session already, I would like to post in a chat function the link to a non-technical user questionnaire, which is very important for us, for the whole team of CyberSANE, just to evaluate how you accept the system CyberSANE like functionality, and what is your opinion on that. So I post this in a chat, and you can fill the questionnaire out. It's the first page, and I think it will take you mostly 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you for that. And now can be Q&A session can begin.
Thank you very much, everyone, for all of the presentations. I know we are a bit out of time, but I will take more 5 minutes to any questions that might remain. Pablo, if you can, please then forward by email the link to the questionnaire that Andrius just shared.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, the floor is yours. Any question? It's now or never. Sophocles?
Yes, hello. This is Sophocles Ephraimidis from
in Folicis. First off, thank you very much for all these interesting presentations and the technologies developed, the impressive technology developed within this project. Two quick questions from my side that pertain to the project as well, and also the trial that we watched here. The lessons learned is a very interesting idea because it somehow distills all the knowledge, right, that has been built out of the experience of an attacker. I was wondering, we saw this searching functionality. We searched through a keyword or something, through an ID or something. But I was wondering if there is any merit in, let's say, associating keywords with each one of the lessons learned, so that one can search for specific, let's say, lessons pertaining to scenarios. Or if there are, for example, if it can be extended with links to similar lessons learned. So, for example, we have a lesson learned about an attack on a particular medical device in which one vulnerability was explored somehow, and then we have another lesson on the same device in which a second vulnerability, right, was explored, right? And these two scenarios might be somehow related, or the lessons learned might be related. And I was wondering if there can be any, links to relevant lessons learned, so that you basically make a web of knowledge, right? So what you already have, right, somehow be enriched in that sense. And the second one is as far as the information collected from the dark web, which is presented to users, is this information somehow ranked or something, or it is free for the user to browse through the collected data? Yeah. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to sum it up, because I think you made three questions. The first is, can we search by keywords and tags on the lessons learned? Yes, you can. You don't need to do the ID. You can search by keywords. The second one regarding the links, Thanos, maybe you can answer that one.
Yeah, I will add something on the first question. Thank you, Sophocles, for your question and your ideas. Actually, what is missing in CyberSANE, and you're very right, we provide the capability of publishing a lesson learned to external repositories such as MISP. What we don't have, and it's very interesting, is to take feedback from these repositories in terms of lesson learned, in terms of individual security incidents, and so on, and build an observatory for the security professional to be aware of similar things. So yes, this is very interesting. This is something that we need to consider among us. And regarding the second question, what we provide for the crawling process is a list of a given keywords, but you can add custom keywords, and of course you need to wait for a little time in order for the crawling process to run and get results for your custom keywords. And the links, the articles that comes when searching with specific keywords are ranked and we have a score in terms of let's say how much yes, relevant score. Yes. This is the word I was searching.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophocles, for your participation also.
Okay, I think we have time for just one more question. Anybody else wants to jump the gun? Okay, I'll take silence as a no. George, I invite you to close the session, and I would like to thank you also everyone for attending this session. George, back to you.
Please fill in the questionnaire. We need your input.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your presentation and your presence. There is still one person. Okay, not anymore. There was an hand raised. So we appreciate if you can fill in the questionnaire and we wish you Good Friday and a very good weekend. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.